this project on his back for a while, and thank you Afia, who's been traveling the Indus through thick and thin, richer or poorer, right? In sickness and in health. So here is our project. It's not a project really for us. The living in this is much more than that. And why we call it an axis of adaptation is clear. Look, it services 80% of Pakistan, but more than services, it provides livelihoods and nurtures Pakistani ecology, agriculture, culture and livelihood, and it's been the bedrock of an entire civilization. Like all great rivers, it is now under threat from human activity. And in the age of the Anthropocene, we look towards asking the Indus what it would say if it could speak. And right now I think it would say, I want to live again. It is now it is under attack from human activity, from toxins, from redrawing too much water, from all sorts of fishing, harvesting, all of the above. Now we can use this great river as an axis of adaptation to protect our wetlands, to recharge our groundwater, to reinvigorate all the marine species that are dying. And you see a lovely panel on the blind dolphin later today, which is part of the Indus and unique to the Indus. So it's home to a variety of spectacular marine life, and we need also to remember that it is the great river that floods Pakistan from time to time. While it feeds us, it also floods us. And the 2010 floods were one clear marker of how it floods in the traditional way. This year's flooding, as you all know, has been a complete catastrophe because it was different. It was something we could not plan for. It swelled the Indus in three different, junctures rather, and one was the glacial lake outburst floods, the hill torrents later that ensued from it, then the flash floods in the middle of the country, and now you saw the monsoon completely make the Indus burst its banks. This river and the way we've designed the project, or rather how we want communities to be involved in reinvigorating it, is it has at least 15 interventions out of the 25 that would provide for buffers against the flooding that we talked about. Now this can go from mangroves to the rehabilitation of how the floodplains function, how we can start measuring its flow, its velocity, and maybe, as we were talking yesterday, even add an element of early warning to its flood management, to its flow of waters. Water, as you know, is contested deeply everywhere. It's also a contested human right in Pakistan, but it is a depleting good. And people have to now understand that it is not an infinite source. On one hand, we need to rejuvenate the Indus to adapt, meaning to protect ourselves, our communities. We need to not build on the floodplains. We need to not, pollute the river with toxins, and we need to recharge the groundwater around it, which will provide us a path forward. It is also half of the year bone dry. I mean, I know this sounds a little counterintuitive in the middle of a flood, after the aftermath of a flood, which has transformed the topography of at least the province of Sindh. But it is also in drought, and Afia will tell you she was unable to navigate this river for great parts of the summer because it was in complete desertification mode. So before the Indus says it is dying to us, I think we need to read the signs and the writing on the wall, or rather the telemetry of it, and start doing something about it. Now it's an ambitious project. It's got a great deal of, it's the living menu to choose from. investors as well as big multilateral organizations, IFIs, can choose to invest in what they see as their either their CSR or their absolute intervention for greening our wetlands and our Indus, rejuvenating our Indus basin. So it is the heart of our civilization, and we need to protect it before it can protect us. That is how it is an axis of adaptation. 15 of the interventions act as resilience builders for populations, for marine life, for wetlands, that act as a buffer for the onset of catastrophic and other kinds of flooding. I'm not sure it will completely manage flooding, because I think it's very important to always manage expectations, but it is an important task to renewing the jugular vein, the commercial, the agricultural and ecological jugular vein of this country. So I'm going to stop here, and I'm sure other people can speak better at this.
Before I turn to Mohit
approach, which means you get the private sector involved as well as IFIs and others. Obviously, the government of Pakistan, when it recovers from this, I don't know, epoch-making flooding, will it obviously try to leverage its own PSDP into it? But there's no room for that right now. For many years, there's a fair amount of fiscal squeeze on any federal government and even the provinces as they rebuild. So I think we do have to pitch at conferences like this. We have to interest a number of stakeholders, but before, as it was said in the ministerial consultations yesterday, which were on the negotiation, the actual negotiation, the pressure to build bankable projects on, and Maldives said it, many of the water-stressed countries said it, the pressure to build bankable projects needs to be supplemented with the people who can, the tech support, the actual consultants who can actually create those bankable projects that compete internationally. We can all sit there and create a project, which we do, but we will have to compete internationally among many more other projects, and this one actually surfaced yesterday. It competed amongst 50 others. At the pre-feasibility stage, it competed, and it emerged as one of interest at the Climate Finance Forum, where I spoke. But we've got to do much more than that. Each of the interventions will speak to, many of them, certainly 15 of them will speak to Pakistan and Indus resuming its relationship, but also acting as crucial buffers against the kind of flooding we saw. So to do that, I think we now have to put our shoulder to the wheel at priorities, the groundwater priorities, the mangrove rehabilitation, which you'll be talking about tomorrow in more detail. But right now, it is standing at a baseline of $11 to $17 billion in financing need. And really, the seed money that we had presented to the cabinet just before the flood hit us, it's all gone. All climate resilience funding, even from my ministry, $160 million gone for repurposed for frontline humanitarian needs. So I think we have a multiple problem on our hands. We have to scale up our interventions, and we have to make them meaningful in a longer term. We have to involve communities. Any top-down project will not succeed if people along the banks of the Indus are not direct stakeholders and they see themselves as beneficiaries, and I think that's not impossible to do. So wherever we finance these interventions from, that has to be the local and the community-based approach has to be central to its sustainability. We can intervene, we can build everything there, whatever is needed, the groundwater recharge systems. They will not remain that way, because the Indus is a living, breathing thing, and it will flow away from the interventions we want to make. The impacts we want to make will not survive a few seasons, if that. if the communities don't become its own protectors, shall we say, and become involved and start giving back to that river which has fed us for centuries. Those are my thoughts.
Thank you very much. We're running short of time. Would you like to-
Space, the geography of Pakistan. So the one thing the Indus has going for it, the project, the Living Indus project, is that all 4 provinces are invested in this because they all need the Indus to thrive and not die. And the other thing is that every government, I'm quite sure, will be equally invested in it because, as I said yesterday, we are going to be water scarce by 2025, and the Indus is the mouth that feeds us. It's time to get serious. Thank you.
Thank you. And I know we've been talking of